Let's try that again with the wrong microphone. Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 114. My name is David Reed. You're watching Dial the Gate. I really appreciate you being here. I really appreciate this next guest. He's been someone to watch out for a long time now with not just Stargate Universe, but Sense8, Matrix, a lot of these other projects here. Brian J. Smith is with us. We're going to bring him in just a moment. But before we get started, if you like Stargate and you want to see more content like this on YouTube, it would mean a great deal if you click that like button. It makes a difference with YouTube's algorithm and will definitely help the show grow its audience. Please also consider sharing this video with a Stargate friend. And if you want to get notified about future episodes, click the subscribe icon. Giving the bell icon a click will notify you a moment a new video drops, and you'll get my notifications of any last-minute guest changes. And clips from this live stream will be released over the course of the next few weeks on the GateWorld.net YouTube channel and later on in the off-season of Dial the Gate. So this is a live... I need to be centered. All right. So this is a live show. So what that means is that I have the guest on right now. And if you go to youtube.com/dialthegate while the show is running, my moderating team is standing by to answer questions that you can submit to the guest for free. We don't do any kind of super chat or anything like that. There's no funding other than advertising and the t-shirts we sell at the end of the show. So if you want to ask Brian a question, you can go ahead and do so now. The moderators will go ahead and turn those over to me. Then about halfway through the show, around the bottom of the hour or 45, I'll turn the fan questions over to Brian, and we'll go from there. Without further ado, the man of the hour, Mr. Brian J. Smith. First Lieutenant Matthew Scott on Stargate Universe.
What's up?
You're frozen out there somewhere, floating in the vastness of space, man.
In a pod.
But you're here with us as well.
I came out of. I'm thawing right now.
How the heck are you? How are things going? Coming off of a huge feature film. My God, man! Back in the Matrix, like he says.
I took that red pill.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, first of all,
great.
congratulations.
Thank you.
What
very
a
much.
coup.
Well, the funny thing about it is, it kind of came about in the way that a lot of jobs tend to, which is, friends, people
right.
that you worked with before, that you've had a really good experience. Kind of. You never know how those connections are going to play out in your future. And I had no idea that Lana was even thinking about doing another Matrix. We had finished Sense8, and her parents had died, and we were at a party in Berlin. I think it was like New Year's, and she kind of took me aside and she was like, yeah, I'm thinking about, I got this idea for bringing the Matrix back, and there might be something in there for you to do if you'd like to. And before I knew it, we were in San Francisco in a big tent with like 100 stunt people and Keanu Reeves and Carrie-Anne Moss and everybody doing it. It was kind of surreal.
Now, did you grow up a fan of that franchise, in all honesty?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I remember going to see the first Matrix. I think I had to be like what was it, 1999?
Yeah, 99.
Yeah. So I would have been a junior or a senior in high school. And we just went nuts for it. It's one of those movies that you see that just completely
opens up your brain.
It completely opens up your brain.
Yeah,
and
red pill, for sure.
It was just this like perfectly crafted movie. I mean, it just every moment of it is just like a masterclass, And then we went and saw the two. I remember they released. Didn't they release the two sequels at the same time?
Same year, yeah, a few years later. So they released them back to back.
So I remember going to see that, and it just blew my mind. It just seemed so remotely cool and I don't know, just absolutely compelling, and never in a million years would have imagined that I would have been a part of that franchise as a much older man.
Much older, give me a break. These sequels you really have to be careful with them because some of them are solid and some of them just aren't. I remember Independence Day Resurgence and just being so gutted by that film.
Oh,
And then I heard about The Matrix coming along, and I'm like, I'm going to give this thing a shot. We'll watch it. We'll see how it is. And I loved it. It was
yeah.
solid. It was very meta. Like, there are some parts of it, like the conceit that it takes about the originals, you either buy it or you don't.
Yeah.
And it asks the question as an audience member, what ride are you going to let the the show take you on? You have to choose to step into that cart and go up and go down the hill.
Totally. Yeah. And also I don't think Lana was interested in doing the same, green color
Right.
saturated sort of ballet kung fu that she had pulled off in the first Matrix and then those other sequels. I mean, there was no doubt that if she wanted to, she could easily spend 6 or 7 months of pre-production, getting actors out there, learning how to do
Yeah.
this insane fight choreography. She just wasn't interested in that and with this, and also there was a little bit of like, I think Warner Brothers was going to do a a sequel, whether or not she wanted
Right.
to do that. As far as I understand, I may be getting that
I think
wrong.
that that's correct. I think that they were interested in pursuing it, and there's allusions to that. I think in the script as well. So it's like,
Man,
what, the creators, who brought it out from the beginning, really have a chance to shepherd into something new. But taking the story 60 years ahead, that was unique. Didn't see that one coming. And if there isn't another two or another one, it's a very solid coda.
yeah, yeah. It's a funny. It kind of sits in this funny way. I mean, it's so different than the other ones, which is already. I mean, which we knew. It's funny. Even my experience doing Stargate Universe. The first thing I did was hopping into this franchise that was trying to go in this different direction. And I mean, it became very clear that, while there were some people that, thought it was neat, and there was, quite a few people who were excited in that direction that it was taking. When you reboot or redo something that is such a tasty and comforting recipe for its like found audience, you're really playing with fire. So I was a little bit like, oh God, here we go again. I'm hopping into,
Oh no.
things. But in the end, it doesn't matter. I mean, I think that's all stuff for people to debate online. I think
Hmm.
those of us who like make these things, we have a very different agenda. It's not about, it's not about, I don't know, like all the stuff that people talk about, on Reddit. It's more like, oh my God, we have to finish this fight scene in 2 days. And, oh, we have this scene. It's, is it going to work? I mean, we're problem solving and trying to tell the story. And that's why we do it, because we love that process. Then you put it out into the world and it is what it is. You have no control either way. It's just your job to kind of show up and enjoy the ride.
Hang out with frickin' Keanu Reeves.
Hang out with Keanu Reeves. Yeah.
You filmed in tell the COVID story that you were starting off with, how you kind of danced around the pandemic and dealt with that while working on this project.
Yeah, we started in San Francisco in early mid January, and we stayed at the Fairmont Hotel, which for people that aren't from San Francisco, that's like right by Chinatown.
Okay.
And so this thing started to happen where people, I remember at the time there was the Trump impeachment thing was going on. So that was in the news. But then every once in a while you start hearing about this virus that was coming out of China, and then there was, going to be a stopping travel
Right.
from China, and we're like right there next to Chinatown. And then people start talking about Chinatown and like, don't go to Chinatown. It's dangerous. There's this, I mean, it was just so crazy, the paranoia that started up really early. But we finished everything in San Francisco. It was fine. We had a week break. Everyone went home, and then we flew out to Berlin to start really the big part of the filming. Sorry.
You're okay.
And that was, I think, like around March the 6th. And then by March the 13th, we were all called and told everything is shutting down. The world is shutting down. We need to get you guys on a plane. You need to get home. You're on your own at this point. Everyone is off work. I live in New York City.
Yeah.
And I actually called my doctor, like my general practitioner, and he was like, do not come to New York. In about a week, New York is going to be a hellscape. I don't recommend. You should stay in Berlin. So I ended up having this incredible experience, like living in Berlin for at least 3 months while we were shut down. And then we started back up again in July. And we're able to just steamroll through COVID. We were one of the only films in the world that was able to keep going. Lana Wachowski actually invented the pod system that a lot of productions are using now to try to keep filming during this current wave, which is you have certain zones of people in production that can be in contact, so that if there is a positive case that pops up, only the people in those pods or zones are quarantined, and the rest can continue to work.
That's
Lana
brilliant.
Wachowski came up with this plan to keep the Matrix going during the first wave of COVID, and so she's an innovator behind the scenes as well.
Wow, man. Well, no doubt about that with the first film and all the technology that introduced, just the experimental stuff that they tried, and the second and the third for that matter. And Cloud Atlas is, I mean, man, Cloud Atlas. Have you seen Cloud Atlas?
Yeah.
It's one of my favorite films. Absolutely. I am not surprised that pedigree generated all kinds of solutions to this. And that's how we're going to get out of this, by thinking on our feet and, being smart about it. So.
Yeah, we're going through it right now. I'm working on a show down here in Atlanta, and this one's worse. This situation is a little bit, actually a little bit more intense than it was when we were
very virulent. Yeah,
because it's so contagious, and it's just impossible to keep it out. We've had positive cases pop up. Mm-hmm. Certain cast members have had to be quarantined, and they have to change up the schedule. Mm-hmm. Even like last week, there were scenes that weren't supposed to be filmed for like 2 or 3 weeks from now. We actually had to film a couple of them last week, and then those got canceled because another person had to get quarantined. It's just crazy.
Craziness.
So, yeah.
What can you tell us about what you're working on?
Oh yeah, it's a mini series for FX called The Class of '09.
Okay.
And it's with the amazing Kate Mara, and also someone who I'm a huge fan of, yes. Brian Tyree Henry from Atlanta is in it too, and just a lot of other really incredible actors. Tom Rob Smith is executive producing and wrote it. I'm really kind of, like, wow, what am I doing here? Kind of moment on set, because everyone is so good, and the writing is just fantastic. So I'll probably be here until, well, we don't know. I mean, it just depends on how many COVID scares we have, but I'll probably be here out until, I think, till like the beginning of May.
All right. Wow, that's a good stretch. And Atlanta is becoming such a huge hotbed for this industry. It's really something to just watch that state just explode. So
Yeah.
Walking Dead and all these other projects that have been down there, it's nice to see other parts of the country really getting a chance to shine and get industry people in there going.
Yeah. Well, Tyler Perry really has got a lot to do with it. He built the Tyler Perry Studios, where our production is kind of based. It's the most gorgeous film studios I've ever worked in. Brand new. Every soundstage is named after a
Oh
great
wow.
African American actor,
Okay.
or it was like the Oprah Winfrey stage and the Will
Yeah.
Smith stage. I mean, it's really cool. And yeah, it's funny because there's so many things that film here that the competition for crew is pretty
That's
intense.
good.
It's good. Yeah. I mean, if you're involved in any level of film production and you live in Atlanta, you are very, very, very high in demand. There's so much stuff filming here right now.
Wow. What can you tell us about your part in Class of '09?
Well, the story is about the class of '09, a group of FBI trainees who go on to become pretty important in the FBI. One of them ends up being the head of the FBI in the future, and Kate Mara's character ends up being a super celebrated undercover agent, possibly the best undercover agent that the Bureau's ever seen. My character ends up being a executive, deputy executive assistant, which is pretty high up in the FBI. And it's really about it's about the FBI, but really it's more about what happens to us at different phases in our life, and how groups of people that, start off together young, it's how their lives progress or regress, disappointments and triumphs, and it's really about time. It's really about getting older and kind of being surprised about where you find yourself. But from a sort of philosophical standpoint, it's also very much about the kind of information that the FBI gathers and uses to track cases, and at what point does this information gathering become obsessive and become a tool to infringe on people's freedom, but all for the sake of keeping people safe. So we're having some of these debates right now, and we're a little bit worried about where we're going with the amount of data that's out there on people. So the show is also very much about that, and it's just really well done. It's really cool.
I can't help but see the comparison with everything that's happening in social media and politics. And I'm not just talking about those things. I'm talking about all of it. I'm talking about what it means to be a human being, to have the autonomy that we have, to have the freedom to make the choices that we have, and then when that comes in contact with all the information that's out there about us, all these digital fingerprints that we're just laying everywhere, that these companies are just absorbing, it's kind of extraordinary.
Oh yeah.
And there's no way to know how this could be weaponized,
Mm-hmm.
by agents meant to do good or meant to do harm. It's really wild.
Yeah.
The
Yeah,
space of the mind is just up for grabs by all kinds of entities.
Yes, and also too, I mean, people that it's up for grabs for people that might have the best intentions of keeping us safe. I mean, who know? I mean, we live also in a really polarized society right now, and there's a lot of talk of, are we headed toward another civil war, or kind of like Northern Ireland, IRA style domestic terrorism kind of civil war. And so one of the ideas of the show is that what happens if there is a terrorist attack another terrorist attack, but a domestic terrorist attack, kind of similar to the Oklahoma City bombing, that is so horrific and so terrifying that the reaction from the government and the FBI is to actually surveil even more, with the idea that this will never happen again. We will never let an event like this happen again. And the American public will be so scared and so terrified that they will say, listen, whatever you got to do to keep that from happening again, do
Protect
it. Take
me.
all my information. If you can, or please arrest my neighbor if they have like if the algorithm says that they have the potential to create problems or to commit a crime.
So almost pre-crime stuff. Wow.
Yeah. Very, very. It's the idea is that they'll get so good at data that the data will then be able to start to predict people's kind of like Minority Report in a way.
Yeah, genuinely anticipate. Wow.
Yeah.
Scary stuff, man. So
yeah,
absolutely. Did you see Don't Look Up?
Yes, I did.
Very polarizing film. One of my favorite lines from that is the Bill Gates analog telling the president what kills her. We don't know what this is. We just know that it does. And it's like it's on another planet, for crying out loud, and the algorithm is still on point.
Yeah, Mark Rylance. That's Mark Rylance, right?
Yeah, brilliant performance.
Oh, is he good? I've met him a couple times.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he was doing. I did a play on Broadway before I did Sense8 called The Glass Menagerie by Tennessee Williams, and he was doing at the same time a play called this little play by Shakespeare called Twelfth Night, and so we kind of would run into each other. I actually ran into him at JFK at the airport. He was holding his Tony Award. It was like outside on the curb at the airport at JFK. And he gets out and he's holding his Tony Award. And I'm on my way to go to San Francisco to start filming for Sense8. And I just walked up to him and I was like, hey, Mark, congratulations. Just kind of cool seeing him and whatever. I mean, that's my Mark.
Thank you so much, sir. Who are you?
Totally.
That's really cool. I know. I'm messing with you.
It's funny because we were both nominated for Tonys in that same category. There was like best supporting actor in a play or whatever. And I think I made some kind of like awful joke. I was like, I think you're holding my Tony Award. Like that. Yeah.
What a ride, man. Yeah, I would like you to take us back to that little gold ship.
Oh, Destiny.
Absolutely. She ended too soon, but what a ride. Holy cow.
It was.
I talked with you just before you started this character. You were thinking about getting a little dog. You were trying to figure out your future and what things were going to look like up in Canada. Tell us about that journey.
God, well, also I was thinking about getting a new pair of underwear and socks. I mean, my dad still laughs because he was like, when I told him I got the job, and you have to understand, like at this point in my life, I mean, I was like a year out of school. I was
Juilliard.
Yeah, and I was doing theater. I was bartending, and it was exactly what I was supposed to be doing in my 20s. But still, it was very scary financially, and it was it was a weird time. And then I remember I called my dad and told him, and he's like, "So what are you gonna do? Are you gonna go buy yourself something?" And I was like, "Yes, I need underwear and socks." That was my first Stargate Universe purchase.
I remember you saying, I kind of like my life in New York, I mean, everyone there, a lot, the working actor, lives on a knife edge, but there's a happiness there. I mean, like you said, you were bartending. I mean, you're performing opposite Path at Merkson, for crying out loud. I mean, the caliber of people that you're working with is just crazy. And then to just turn around and take a chance, go to the other coast, that's a big deal. Underwear notwithstanding.
I totally. I mean, I'm glad I went out there with some fresh socks and certainly fresh underwear. But yeah, it was it. I look back on that as a really happy time. God, I was young and naive and had no idea what I was getting into in the best way, because Stargate Universe ended up being this amazingly tender, nostalgic cluster of memories for me. Everyone on that show, we were very close, and really, really cared for each other and had a great time and hung out a lot. It was the first experience I'd had of, it was my first series I'd ever worked on for sure, but it was the first time I'd felt that intensely close to a group of people that I was working with. And we still talk every once in a while. I mean, David Blue,
sang your praises when he was on the show.
oh God, he's such a sweetheart. Yeah, I miss him. I mean, I was out in Los Angeles a couple years ago doing a pilot for something, and me, Ming Na, Elyse, David, we all met up at John Lennox. He was working in LA at the time. He had a house, so we all met up there and had a little reunion. It was just that kind of experience for us, and it was beautiful. And working in Vancouver, I lived down like off Commercial Avenue and then Yaletown. It was the first time in my life I had like a kind of a steady, decent paycheck and can like start paying some of my student loans down. It meant so much to me. And I learned a lot about, I made a lot of mistakes. I mean, I watched that show maybe a couple of years ago. I was like, oh, just want to see some episodes. And it is hard to watch at times because I'm like, oh my God, what was I doing? Why didn't someone put that in there? Surely there was a better take than that, there had to be a better take than that. Please, if that was the best take, whoa. But I was young and I was learning and I cared a lot, and it's just a really special time. I look back on that moment in my life so fondly.
The caliber of people that you were working with: Ming Na,
Robert Carlyle,
Louis Ferreira. Who did you walk away from saying to yourself, I really learned a lot from that person? Just being in their presence, just working opposite them, just watching them.
I mean, you get little things from different people. Like Jamil, Walker Smith, who plays Sergeant Greer. He had the, I at the time I was coming from drama school from Juilliard, and I was doing theater, and I was all about being like, have every single freaking line just down and memorized. And I was such a good student. I just wanted to and Jamil would show up and he, would be like, what are we doing? Like, what, just, okay. He had this openness and this ability to be, this is really incredible. Yeah. And this is very hard to do. He had this ability to like, to let the camera turn on that little red light, which can freak a lot of people out, but it didn't freak him out. He would just be like, no, what am I doing? Let me look at these lines real. Okay, boom. And then kind of discover it for the first time right there on the spot in front of, the camera and the crew. And that is, I still don't know how to do that. That's still, I don't know, maybe the older I get, I'll find some of that in me, but I loved that he gave himself room to make mistakes and to mess up, but to find, there's some of my favorite moments in that show came from him. They were totally unplanned and totally spontaneous of him figuring out in that moment what was going on. And that to me is really special to see. So I learned a lot from him. But David did incredible things on that show. Robert Carlyle, Louis. I mean, just they were all so great, and it was an amazing apprenticeship for me, and an honor to be on set with them and to see at that point in my career and my working process, like how people work and how people figure out um, how you work on a television show.
It was a show that was willing to take risks with telling its own audience, "Hey, come, come on this journey with us and see where it goes." I remember episodes like Cloverdale, where in one reality you guys are under attack by vicious plants, and your whole arm is utterly transformed, and then in another reality you're getting married in, Pleasantville, USA, with the girl of your dreams, and it's one of my favorite little episodes.
Cool.
And that just, I think that one really demonstrated, I think, the breadth and depth of Scott, and frankly where Chloe's character, Elise's character, was going. I think that character was going places that we just didn't really have any idea about yet, and we just saw a little piece of it in that episode.
Yeah, I remember at the end of season 1, I think I was talking to maybe it was Brad, right? Or Rob Cooper, someone, and they were like, "Oh man, what have we gotten ourselves into with that?" The end of the year with this. I mean, we've created this like real they put the characters in a situation where you're like, how the hell are they going to get out of
with
this?
Aleutian Alliance and the death pulsar, which apparently is a real thing in space.
So. Yes, right. Right. They do the research.
They do.
But they were also like, as writers, they were in the exact same situation. They were like, we have no idea what we're going to do. We have no idea how they're going to get out of that. And I was like, oh, that's pretty amazing and pretty brave to make choice, like writing and story choices that really get you in trouble and force you to think outside of the box and to find some different ways of telling stories. And I would imagine that was both exciting and scary for guys who had been, very successfully churning out really great television with SG1 and Atlantis for years. And we're just like, you know what, we're going to try something different. You know what I mean? I got to keep it alive for me. And sometimes that means putting yourself in a really big pickle. Yeah. And I really had a lot of respect for them that they did that and challenged themselves that way. That was cool.
And we're willing to take some really cool risks location-wise, going down to New Mexico twice, which you got to do both times.
I did. David, I remember getting like so pissed at one point. He's like, man, like you always get to go to the to the locations, all these like cool. I was like,
I'm the guy with the gun.
I'll take it though. I won't say no.
Absolutely. The first one was White Sands. I've been to both.
Sands,
White Sands, one of the most, maybe my favorite place in the entire country. Next to the view of Golden Gate Bridge. I mean, it's like that magnificent.
I get it. I think about that place often, not like every 5 minutes, but I mean, it's one of those places that's so beautiful and you see it and it's so bizarre. It sticks in your memory and you think, no matter what happens in my small little life or the lives of everybody that I know, and even like the history of our civilizations are going to change and shit's going to happen, but like White Sands is still going to be the same.
That quartz sand is not going anywhere.
And it's great to see those things because it kind of helps you touch, like eternity in a way. And you realize that there's a much bigger process going on that has nothing to do with you and your, aches and pains and complaints about other people or yourself. That's all going to disappear. But that white sand is always going to be there. It's going to outlast us for eons.
And while they were down there also doing some location scouting in other spots, the Bisty Badlands, which you wouldn't even think that this kind of place would exist on the Earth. It's so alien.
Yeah. 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 And I feel like I've seen that pop up in other
Mm-hmm.
show. I mean,
Well,
every
I always thought it was the place in Galaxy Quest, and it's not. That was shot at
oh,
a different location. Yeah, but it's one of those
huh.
spots where it's like, this is so cool. Spent a
So cool.
day in there, and it wasn't nearly enough.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we we spent a couple days there. I'm trying to figure out how long we were there. But I remember having to be very careful. We had people that worked there that were
Mm.
making sure that we weren't, blowing too many things up, or some of those stalactites are very old, and they want to preserve them, and they don't want a film crew going in there
Just
making a
ripping
mess.
it to hell.
You know, yeah,
Absolutely.
that was beautiful. Yeah, so cool.
I was delighted at the arc that introduced that Scott had a family and he had a little
Yeah,
boy that he never even knew about.
yeah,
And so not only did he have people to fight for aboard the ship, but it's like, you know what? I think my money's going to Annie, and I think it's going to go to little Matt. And I please, make sure that she makes the right choices for her kid.
hmm
That was a great story.
I think so too. I loved that. I found that very moving. I think at that point in my life, the idea of like having a kid, or am I ever going to have children, I remember for some reason was very important to me. Like thinking about being a father and being a young father.
Hmm.
I mean, now I'm like, oh, geez, there ain't nothing. Listen, I love kids. I've got, like some beautiful nieces, and, cousins, whatever. I love kids. I love other people's kids. But man, just the idea of having a child at this point in my life, I'm just like, oh, I can't think of anything that would be less conducive to my
It's
happiness.
it's a full-time gig in and of itself. You have to
Oh,
wonder how some people handle it.
yeah.
I mean, you're trapped, especially nowadays. In different cities, waiting for X, Y, and Z. Forget the dogs. The dogs
Yeah.
that's rough enough. So
I
it's a
feel
whole.
like having dogs is about as deep into the child care world that I could possibly get.
Oh God.
Um, yeah.
Let's check out some fan questions and see what we got here.
All right.
Gap Stargate. I wanted to know from Brian the single most memorable moment while filming. Whew, if you can narrow that one down.
Goodness gracious. Trying to think. I mean, like all these like memories are flashing through my head. I would think going the time that we spent in White Sands is probably one of the
Mm.
more memorable moments. It was so extreme. It was insanely hot. We're wearing these black uniforms, and the sand is absolutely pure white, so it's just reflecting heat. You actually touch the sand, and it's cool
Mm-hmm.
to
You go a
touch.
little bit down and it's ice cold. That's the
Yeah,
thing that I
yeah.
remember.
And again, I think I think it was probably 26 years old at that
Yeah.
point. I had never really done any kind of traveling like that. Never thought that I ever would. And to be on this set with all this like crazy equipment and cameras and hundreds of crew people, I was like, damn, like I'm doing this. Like I'm actually I'm one of the people, even at Juilliard, it's a great school, and it pumps out a lot of really great, talented actors, but it doesn't mean you're going to work. It doesn't mean you're going to, have a career. Unfortunately, I wish it did, but I was like, wow, like I'm actually making my dream come true. That was one of those moments for me where I was like, wow, this is really happening. So yeah, White Sands. That was a moment I remember majorly.
Tracy wanted to know what was one role that you haven't yet had the opportunity to take on that you would really love to do. Maybe not like a specific character, but or a specific type.
Um,
What
you
are you
know,
waiting
I don't,
for?
it's funny. Cause I've been asked that before, and I really don't, I don't know how to answer it because, your career is like a dance,
Mm.
rather than like a series of like benchmarks or targets. You never really know what's coming around the corner. The Matrix was a total surprise to me. I never thought I'd be involved in that. The show I'm doing right now was one of 20 auditions that I had done over
Oh,
a period of time for other things. Any one of them could or couldn't happen, and it just did for whatever reason. And I've just learned that these things are being arranged by this universe, this unseen power that's working, and you're just a part of this web. And the things that happen to you are also just logically happening to you because of this web as well. So I don't know. I feel like every role that comes to me is like, oh, this is the role I'm supposed to play right now, and this is what I'm
got it.
supposed to do.
Have you found a way then? It's not that's a very rational answer for something that is could be interpreted as very chaotic. If you're someone who is very if you read a piece of dialogue or read a side, it's like, oh, I really want this. Is there a circuit that you have to, or a wire that you have to cut in your brain saying, you know what, if it's going to happen, it's going to happen. If not, not. But oh, I really want this.
Yeah, it's a funny balance because you have to you learn really fast to not get too attached. It's kind of like being a foster child. I would imagine, like going from family to family to
Yeah.
family. You learn, you know what? It's great that these people are taking care of me right now, but I'm not going to get used to it because it's probably not the ultimate solution for me. Or I may not get invited to this party. So and you also, I mean, people can smell desperation pretty easily,
Oh, okay.
and it's not very attractive. And I feel like there's a little bit of power in being kind of like, hey, listen, this would be great if it happened. If it doesn't, that was also meant to be. That so maybe I'm just jaded and I don't let myself get too attached to
Yeah.
things in that way. If it happens, it happens.
That's a good way to look at it. Jeremy Heiner wanted to know Stargate Universe featured the first LGBTQ SG regular, played by the awesome Ming-Na Wen. As someone who is also gay, it was really nice to see some representation in my favorite sci-fi series, and I'm curious if that character influenced your own coming out in 2019, and how has coming out changed your life and your career?
Oh wow, that's oof, man, that's like a
That's a lot
book.
there. Yeah.
No, but great. That's yeah. Yeah. I certainly was wrestling with my sexuality while we were filming Stargate Universe, and didn't I was I'm sure it's a little bit, for especially certain guys in their 20s
Mm-hmm.
who don't know if they're gay and don't know if they're straight or don't know what they want to be at that point. I can imagine it can be a little bit confusing for the people around them. I mean, everyone on SGU knew that I was gay. I was very much out on set. I believe, was I? No, actually, I really wasn't. Maybe not until season two. Yeah, season one, I didn't. I had told John Lennox, our line producer,
Great guy.
who was a really great guy, and still to this
Mm-hmm.
day is like one of my closest friends. He knew that I was gay. We talked about it pretty early on, but I was terrified. I think I was afraid. You got to remember, a lot has changed
Mm-hmm.
since, what was that, 2009 or
Mm-hmm.
2000? Wait,
Yeah.
and yeah, a lot has changed. And yeah, the advice at that moment in my life was like, it's really nobody's business, and maybe just best not to, I'm not like a flamboyantly,
In
gay
your
kind of guy.
face.
Yeah, like this is just kind of like who I am. And a lot of the roles that I was going out for or would hope no one's going to cast me as like the funny, it's like the funny, cool, really super smart gay guy. You know what I mean? Which is like how that's who I would love to play. I would love to do that. But like I get people put a uniform on me. I play cops and military people, FBI agents now for whatever reason. For my insides, that's very bizarre because that's not how I feel. But the advice was like, listen, just don't complicate it. Just stay, just keep your private life private, and there's plenty of time to come out. So yeah, I think coming out has been good. It hasn't really changed much. We're in a different place now. It was more for myself. I think I was just tired of like equivocating and being like, are they going to ask questions about like romantic stuff in this interview? Do I need to worry about it? It's just so freaking boring and stupid to be hiding.
Well, you made it work. I mean, you'd played gay guys before. I mean, yeah. I went and saw. I after you got hired, I went and looked at War Boys, and what's the other one where you were killed? I can't remember its name right now. Hate Crime. Yeah. That was good too. That was intense. And then you with Elyse on screen, perfectly natural.
I guess, yeah.
At least it was to me. So you could pull it off.
Love is love is love is love.
Yeah. Not to say pull it off is the wrong characterization, like you're faking something. There was genuine affection there between you and Elyse, as far as I'm concerned. So I think I think that's the ingredient. If you truly care about someone, you can pretty much make it happen.
Yeah, and even if you don't, it's pretend. It's not real life. We're playing, we're pretending to be other people, and that's kind of the joy.
How was working with Elyse?
Oh my god, amazing! She's hilarious.
She's magic.
She was such a such a dork. I just remember cracking each other up constantly, and we were really close during that process. I think we both kind of felt like, we were a little bit nervous being on the show and wanted to do a great job, and kind of clung to each other and could confide, our insecurities. She was fantastic. She was a great scene partner too.
I remember a video that was posted. You guys, I'm pretty sure it was the two of you posted online with Poker Face playing in the background. And instead, you know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
And instead of Poker Face, it's Puppy Face with Cassie.
Yeah,
I was like,
right?
That was just so cute.
Yeah. Cassie, rest in peace.
Good girl.
Yeah.
Erica Strom, you were on the Carl Vinson, if I'm not mistaken.
That's right.
At sea with Brad and Martin and a few others. And tell us about getting the word about the cancellation. Now that I've set the stage.
That's right. Yeah, because we were there. Like, I think, wasn't Brad right there too?
Brad was there and Martin was there. You guys were doing signings on board. John
was there. I don't think it came as that big of a surprise because we knew that the ratings were just like unsustainably bad, and I think we knew. I think the hope was that there would be some kind of like a finisher, like that we would get to do some kind of like a
with like Sense8.
Yeah, there'd be like a 2-hour finale that we'd get to at least wrap this thing up. I went through a really dark period, not like crazy dark, but I'd have moments where like I remember being back home in New York and I'd be like, oh man, you get attached to that world. You get attached to those characters. And I thought it's just so unsettling to me that they're still out there floating around in space. You look up, you could almost imagine them out there just waiting to be rescued. Eli doing God knows what, to keep himself entertained.
Jogging around the ship and getting thin.
Totally.
I think that's a prerequisite.
That's exactly it. He's got like a big old, you made a gym.
It's like, Eli, you found the gym. All right.
Totally.
You go, guy.
Totally. That would be a great story. We all show up, we wake up and
I'm changed, bro.
40 years old and got a beer gut and just totally let myself go. And Eli is just freaking, Superman.
That's funny.
12-pack abs. That'd be a great story. That's the reason to revive it right there.
Yeah, I am still optimistic that we will have some kind of conclusion in a future iteration of whatever's coming up that Amazon's cooking, even if it's just a parallel story to a story that they're wanting to tell. Because I think that
I haven't heard about what
Amazon bought MGM. So
okay.
Oh, Brian, yeah, Amazon bought MGM.
I had no idea.
And
well, thank God. I mean, because MGM has been just you're
right.
Out of the water for years.
You're right.
Back when we were doing SGU, it was MGM is Carl Icahn gonna buy them off or something. I mean, it was so confusing. We didn't know what was gonna. Okay, so please explain to me what's happening.
So the purchase was made. I think it was how much was Amazon?
$100,000.
It was $8.45 billion.
Jeez.
Right?
Wow.
And Stargate is obviously one of the pieces in that equation. They have not made any announcements yet. Brad has his ear to the ground. I don't know who's been talking with whom, but he is not out of the equation as far as we are aware. So we are all, please God, praying that he's going to get another swing at bat. So
damn, that would be amazing. I'm curious to see. I mean, I'm sure how it is though. I mean, Amazon's going to look at all the numbers and
they're numbers people.
They're going to throw it into the algorithm, and if the equation pops up, thumbs up or thumbs down. I mean, that's how these decisions get made. I mean, really, these are not emotional. I mean, listen, having worked at Netflix before, having my own experience, I can tell you, these aren't emotional people. They don't make decisions based on feelings. They don't make, they're not thinking about the nostalgia of this, property. They how many projected eyeballs are going to be on it? That's
right.
Really all they care about, it's a business. That's the way it works. So I'm really curious to see what the algorithm says.
We're gonna see what happens for sure. I think my fear is that they're going to look at 350 episodes and say, no, we're not going anywhere near that. Blank slate. Let's start over, which they could. But I think if they're going to leverage that library and get people invested in going back and watching the other content, they'll think again, hopefully.
Well, that's interesting. Yeah. It'd be interesting to see it too. If they do some kind of a, have you seen Lost in Space?
Yes.
You watch that show? I mean, it's kind of incredible what they can do right now.
Shot Bridge.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Oh, is it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But I think you could do some really cool stuff with Stargate. With the technology they've got right now, that what you can do with television just looks so good. Keep
it family centered as well. I think that's the Lost in Space component that you could really plug in there. It's just you've got a show that everyone can sit down and watch and makes you feel good. So absolutely.
But I'm one of those people though. I like the darkness.
I think that there's room for all of it.
I was always so much more like a Battlestar guy. Mm-hmm. My taste runs. I have a very dark palette. I like heavy, dramatic, constant turmoil. Existential crisis kind of stuff. That's the kind of show I'd love to see.
Okay, then completely out of left field, Game of Thrones finale, good or bad?
I never got into Game of Thrones.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and I tried. I mean, and it's not that like I don't think it's an amazing achievement.
I
Obviously,
just assumed as a student of the work, I would have assumed it would have been something that you watched.
Oh man, yeah, I did. I watched like 2 or 3 seasons,
Okay.
and like was like just so enamored with the acting and the writing, obviously. But I'm not into like Renaissance fairs and
Okay, that's fair.
and like dragons and sorcerers and all that stuff. I'm kind of it just doesn't. I don't
Okay.
connect for some reason.
That's fair. Have you
But
seen The
I'm not judging
Expanse?
it. No, I haven't. Should
Okay.
should I check
I
that
think
out?
that's gonna be more up your alley. I'm just about to start it now that it's
Ah.
finished.
Oh,
So
okay.
that's what I do. I mow these things down when they're done. So
What have you seen recently that you love that you're like, oh, this is a cool of the moment
that I
sci-fi?
loved what uh, uh what was it called? The film with Natalie Portman. Shoot, what's it called? It's
Ex Machina or
that's another one. I loved Ex Machina. I loved Arrival.
Arrival. Yeah,
That
I
was Jeremy
started
Renner.
reading
That was
that
brilliant.
writer's short stories
Yes.
recently. God,
That's one of them. Annihilation, I thought was brilliant. That was with Natalie Portman. I thought that film was absolutely brilliant and very out of the box. And then I recently saw a film with what's his face, White Fang. Oh God, and it's called Predestination.
Okay.
And it's based on a short story, All You Zombies, and it's got Ethan Hawke, and it's just this brilliant, encapsulated, self-contained, in the truest sense of the term, sci-fi story. It's a paradox, and I cannot recommend it enough.
Okay.
Because
Yeah,
you
I'll check
sit
that
back
out
and you
too.
go, "Oh shit, that was cool." So,
Yeah. Okay, I'll check that. What'd you think about Dune?
brilliant. Shame
Yeah.
on me. I should get lightning struck from the sky. Absolutely brilliant.
Oh, is that like is like are people is it kind of controversial?
I mean, lightning struck from the sky. That I didn't bring it up when you talked about good sci-fi that's recent. That I
Right.
skipped over that because it was, yeah, I was hesitant about it from the beginning because I was a huge fan of the miniseries and not a big fan of the original film because it wasn't that faithful to the source material. This one's got it, and Timothée Chalamet did great. Jason Momoa was great.
Yeah. Jason Momoa. I mean,
He's
talk about
Duncan.
like
I know.
like I like wow. Okay.
Yeah.
In everything, it's kind of incredible.
It's good for him all the way. Yeah, he was really great in Game of Thrones, and I think just one thing led to another for him, and I can't wait to start watching C. He's so good. So
Yeah.
Eva wanted to know, who would you look forward to shooting scenes with? She loved Matt's relationship with TJ. I did too, for that matter. Elena,
Oh,
you and
yeah.
Elena, there was some great chemistry there.
Yeah. We definitely. Yeah, that always felt really, really nice. Oh man. I mean, anytime you're with Robert Carlyle, that was exciting, and
I would think so.
but he wasn't like intimidating at all. He was such a gentle, kind man, and so much fun too. That it never felt like you're like, oh God, oh Robert's on set. Everyone zip up. Nothing like that. I loved just watching him work. I loved working with David. I loved doing scenes with him. Yeah, I think I if I had looked forward to like a season 3, also too, I thought the relationship with Scott and oh my God, why am I forgetting Louis' character's name? Captain
Colonel Young.
Colonel
Yeah.
Captain Young. I can't even remember.
No, it's okay. It's been a couple years, man.
Young. I thought that was like an interesting
Father-son relationship, which ties back even further into Cloverdale.
Yeah.
There was
Yeah.
there was that there was that tension to it as well, like an eagerness to please, the instructor, the father figure, the leader of the mission. So
Which is how I very much felt,
yeah.
in that experience. I really was eager to please, and I looked up to all these people, and that felt very organic and something I wanted to express.
The Fred wants to know, how was the experience of working on Treadstone? He says
Oh, Treadstone.
it was a good show and your character was cool, but it got canceled.
Oh man, I mean, listen, I'm the kiss of death. If
No,
you're
you're not.
listen, I put this on my resume. If you want, like, if you're just tired of a series that's just going on too long, you just call me up, put me in there for a couple episodes, and you will be shut down. I'm kidding.
Oh.
I'm just kidding. No, yeah, Treadstone. That was I never worked harder in my life.
Wow.
That I was in the gym every day for an hour and a half to 2 hours, and and then would do stunt rehearsals. The fights on that thing were the real deal. I mean, we really, really, really wanted to get the fights right, and I gotta say, I went back and saw it maybe last year, even just like to go look at the fights. Man, we did some the fight choreography on that thing. Pretty damn solid.
I'll
considering
have to check it out.
we would film those like in a day, which is
Wow.
unheard of. Absolutely unheard of. They did a really good job. I think that there were some decisions made in the writing that just were not that helpful in the end, and you don't there's not a very wide landing strip when you're doing a first season of TV. You gotta nail it. It's got to be just really, really, really great all the time right off the bat. And we just, for whatever reason, it didn't happen. But that was, and also living and working in Budapest was incredible. And then we filmed up in the Arctic in Longyearbyen in Norway, which was insane. It was so cold there, you couldn't have exposed skin for more than, I think, like 45 seconds before
Freeze.
Before frostbite would start to set in. It was,
wow,
that was
man.
really extreme. But hey, I love that stuff. Obviously, I'm up for the adventure of making difficult shows like that. That's and also I destroyed my back on that show. Like I will never be able to do a stunt heavy production like that ever again, because my back is just not good.
Wow, it really knocked you around.
Yeah.
Wow. Holy
Hardcore.
crap, man.
Yeah.
Adam Parra wanted to know, knowing what you know now as a performer, as a person, if you had the chance to influence the end of the SGU story, how would you resolve it? Where did you think that she was going? What do you think Destiny's mission was?
Wasn't there something about that, that they figured out that Destiny had was out there to find the source of this
Galactic background noise.
Yeah.
There's some kind of master puzzle.
Yeah.
Hidden in the universe's cosmic microwave radiation.
Yes. And I thought that was brilliant and very, I thought that was something that show really wanted to lean into, was these kind of deep questions about what is it that makes us human? Why are we here? Where did this all come from? And does even finding that out, is that something that we want to do? And I thought that was really, really, really interesting. And I think that was something they would have wanted to explore more as it went on. I would have loved to have seen that explored more, especially playing, Scott, who's someone who's like, he was religious. He going to be a minister at some point in his life.
Yeah.
Thinking about it, I for someone, who has a religious background, I think that, when you're faced with this sort of scientific explanation for what God might be, what does that mean and what does that bring up? That would have been really interesting.
You're a person of faith?
No,
Not you specifically?
No. I mean,
Okay.
I grew up like that, but I'm not saying that I wouldn't ever be in the future. Who knows? But no, I'm kind of um, uh, more like on the Eastern philosophy,
Okay.
side.
I
Yeah.
do think that, and this is just my personal opinion, that the more we discover, I think that God and science are closer together than we realize.
Yeah. And
Whatever
that
that is, you
yeah.
know, I think that there is a master code that if we always should strive for as human beings, trying to figure out how to unlock.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a big universe out there.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, I thought that was, it was really cool that might have been something that we would have explored had the show gone forward. And it's one of the, sort of disappointments of the show getting canceled.
Emily Cheatham wanted to know what did you relate to most about Matt, and what did you have a hard time locking with and saying, well, you know what, I'll just fake this.
I mean, being young and
Yeah.
eager to please and being thrust in a position that's, where you feel like a fish out of water, that definitely, felt right to me. But the funny thing is, I can say for sure that the older you get, that doesn't go away. I think I was under the impression that like, oh, maybe in a few more years, a little more experience under my belt, I'll feel a little more confident. And it just doesn't work that way. And most of the people that I work with, I mean, even Keanu Reeves, we were doing The Matrix, he's like, man, I still feel like a beginner. It's like every time I get up, I
Really?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Just like, he's like, oh man, I still get so nervous. It's like, okay, Keanu. All right. Oh wow. Yeah. It's good to hear.
The more that I hear about that man, the more I just absolutely love him. He is that is humility, is what that is.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Walk with me for a second, because my computer is about to.
I'm sorry.
No. I just want to grab my charger. Okay.
They got you set up good.
This is my place. This is my apartment. It's a mess right now. Sorry about that.
I apologize for taking you so long.
No. I thought this thing was going to last a little bit longer, but I think the conversation is just so interesting.
It's just sucking it right out. I think if there was any particular actor that I would love to just sit on set and watch, it would be Keanu Reeves.
Me? Oh, sorry. I thought you were going to say me.
And you. Absolutely.
Yeah. It's so bizarre. We one night we had been filming, like at the end of The Matrix is all that, crazy chase scene with like the bots that are using themselves as bombs. We filmed that, I think, over like 6 nights. I mean, I cannot believe we did that scene 6 nights.
That's good planning, is what that is.
It's so funny. Like you hear, people say, wow, like this Matrix, it wasn't as innovative as the other Matrixes. It's like, listen, if you did like just a little bit of research, and if you thought just a little bit about what you see on screen, you would realize that like this was actually the most innovative out of all of them. The fact that she filmed that whole chase scene in 6 nights is unbelievable, even for most like modern productions. And the fact that she got Carrie Ann and Keanu to jump off of a like 46-story building.
They actually did that?
Yes, that's not stunt people, and that's not CGI. They jump off of that building. And and that's also part of like these layers in that film that I think is going to take people years to kind of like settle down and not be so upset about the movie, to realize that like, we are so conditioned to seeing things like that done on green screen and CGI that we don't actually believe that would actually be done, that those 2 actors would be allowed to jump off a 45-story building. I mean, that to my mind kicks bullet time's ass and all the kung fu ballet. That is what makes that movie really special and brilliant. I mean, that is hard, much harder to do than bullet time.
Wow.
Much, much, much harder to do.
Just
I
insane.
forgot what we were talking about though. Sorry. I
No,
went off.
Keanu. Yeah.
Oh yeah, Keanu. So we were filming those scenes, and like, one night we were all staying at the Fairmont, and me and my friend Toby and Max, we were out in the courtyard, and Keanu came down and sat with us and was like, "Hey, do you guys want to? Yeah, do you mind if I hang out with you?" And we were like, "Yeah." So we just sat out there for like 2 hours that night, and he just told us stories, and he's that kind of guy, but he also works really, really, really hard. And and like you said, watching him on set is just amazing. You're seeing someone who is actually very, very, very savvy. He knows that there's a kind of Keanu Reeves ness that he's expected to deliver.
Yeah.
And he's very aware of it. It is a very conscious presentation of Keanu Reeves. And it's very interesting and amazing to watch.
I'm just really delighted that you survived to the end of the movie. Berg makes the comment, the other, the Neb, everyone aboard the Neb died at the end of the mission with the first mission, and you guys made it.
All killed. Yeah, and that's also part of like Lana's, Lana does not, she's not interested in telling tragic tales, much to my chagrin. I love a tragedy. I think like I said, I love the dark side, I guess, in storytelling. But Lana, at the end of The Matrix, she talks about painting the sky with rainbows. She's for this like radical utopian vision of what storytelling should be. It should make you feel good and send you out on your way feeling really good about being a human being. And yeah, that's what she's about. And it's definitely made me like that more myself.
I loved where the story went. I loved that, 60 years later, death is conquered and love and family prevail.
Yeah.
And that, spoiler alert. I guess that's a little late now.
Until The Matrix 5. I don't know.
But do you think, do you feel that there'll be another one?
No.
You think that's it?
Oh yeah. Oh, definitely. I mean, unless like Matrix, or unless, Warner Brothers is for whatever reason is like, you don't want to do another one. Are you sure? Okay, then we're going to take this from you and we're going to give it to, Michael Bay or whatever. I don't know.
Do you think at that point she'd say, you know what, I did what I wanted to do with it. Go ahead.
Yeah. I also too, I mean, listen, I don't think it's they're probably going to lose money on the film. They're probably there's no reason to do another Matrix after this one. I think Lana was like, you're not going to take this from me. You're not going to give this to someone else. Those characters are so important to me. Yeah. If it's going to be finished, I'm going to finish it the way that I want to finish it. And I'm glad she did.
Absolutely. Two more, and then I'm going to let you go. Matthew Robbins, did you ever read the follow-up comic books to SGU?
No, but it's funny. Yeah, I heard about them, and I even think I remember getting like sketches of like Lieutenant Scott. It'd be like, do you like this one? How do you think about that? Not that like I had any say in it, but they were very sweet and sending us like concept art so that we could look at it, and that they weren't like turning us into like a one-eyed like
do you want them?
Disaster. I haven't seen any of them.
I'll send it to you. I'll get you the digital copies.
That's amazing to me though, that's being If that's being done, it kind of makes my heart feel good.
They
It's like,
did
oh,
a limited run, and it's pretty solid. They take a left turn from Brad and Rob's vision, but it's an interesting left turn. It's an interesting
like
look
how?
at a possible. There were ancients hidden on the ship that were in their own cryostasis. So
Oh my
and
God.
and so Eli
Look at
wakes
this.
them up. So it's almost he's
Hey.
found another corridor that wasn't accessible before, and oh my gosh, there's billion-year-old ancients in there. So yeah,
Wow.
yeah,
God, people are so smart. They come up with this stuff. It blows my mind.
exactly. It's
That's
craziness.
cool. I'll have to check it out.
Lastly, Luis Carlos Simoes. What do you miss most about SGU or playing the
Mm.
character? What do you think you'll really? What do you think you'll take away, or you have taken away?
You do these projects and they're filmed and they're stored on some streamer somewhere, and it's like this photo album of a younger version of yourself, and a sort of uh, memento of who you were at a certain period of your life. I can't really, I don't know what fans think of shows, or
Mm,
the debates they have. I mean, I really, it's not for me to even think about, and I don't. For me, it's like I get to see my 26, 27-year old self, from the perspective of time, and I get to learn from it and appreciate who that person was and who I am now. That to me is what is really the most special about having a career in this crazy industry is all of these projects you do, like SGU, Sense8, Treadstone, all these things I've done are little markers in time of my life, and little expressions, good or bad or otherwise, of like who I was in that moment. And that's very special to me. And I am a very nostalgic person. And when I think back on SGU, and I think of, Bridge Studios, and I think of, Vancouver and Stanley Park and my dog, Cassie, that I got there, it was a moment in my life. It wasn't just a job. It was a moment of growth for me. And it means a lot. And getting to see things like, White Sands, and being on the USS Vincent, those are hopefully things that if I get to the end of my, life, when I'm like 110 years old, those are the images that I want to have flashing through my head, because they were joyful, and I was really, really alive and living my life in those moments, doing these shows. So it's very, very, very meaningful to me, and very special.
and it's a good body of work. You can look back on it and be proud and say, you know what? Check this stuff out. It was
Yeah,
pretty cool.
yeah, that's some cool stuff, and I just want to keep, learning and getting better. And also too, like, would love to get into writing. I'd love to get into, directing or producing, these things I'm thinking about right now. And I love working in this industry and in this art form. And it is, I'm a very, uh, I love to be still and at home. I'm a homebody, but my career gets me out. It forces me out of my comfort zone, gets me out of the house, and keeps me constantly off balance. And I'm very grateful for that, because I'm the kind of person that needs it.
Oh, I think you're just getting started. I
Oh,
think you have a
sure.
lot
Oh,
more to say and do, for sure.
oh, definitely. I agree too. And I have no idea what that is, but like I said, it's a dance, and I just have to show up.
Absolutely. I do have one more. Woodworks MK. Do you want to do a John Wick film?
No. Um,
I guess going
no.
back to Going back to the back issue, probably.
Yeah, I my back, I could not do a fight. I could not do fights.
Wow.
Any kind of physical, I couldn't do it. Yeah, my back wouldn't let me do it, and it's just too much work.
You got to take care of yourself.
You do, yeah, yeah. And sometimes, in spite of it, doing the best you can to take care of yourself, accidents happen, and I've like really learned. I had a back issue last spring that was the most terrifying physical experience of my life. I've never had pain I didn't know that the body can create pain in that way. I couldn't even imagine it. So it was very humbling, and it made me kind of realize how fragile this equipment that we're given is.
It lets you know if something's wrong.
It definitely does. And for someone who's just kind of joyfully thrown myself around for my mid-20s and 30s, to kind of realize that, I can't do that anymore is a little bit upsetting, but what are you going to do? You just have to do the best you can and try and, not do John Wick films. It's like the actor's dream though, to be like every actor wants to be able to go, oh no, I'm walking away from this. They would have to ask me first. I would have to audition, win the role, and then I'd have to say, oh no, I'm sorry. That's John Wick.
Make a 3D model of me for all the fight scenes. The rest I'm there for.
Totally. Can I just do voiceovers? Can I just record my voice?
That was one of the things that I was kind of hoping for with SGU. If nothing else, give us CG animation has gone a long way. I wouldn't mind seeing a 2-hour CG film.
That would be great. Yeah.
I would love that. Brad's vision for sure, because he had a plan. He had a master plan, and one of these days we're just gonna have to see what it was. Did he
kind of hint that he's got
Well, David knows where Destiny was going, but in terms of he was told. But I mean, in terms of that master plan, there's only 1 or 2 people out there that know what it is. So
really?
Yeah.
Well, I hope we get to see it. That'd be incredible to hop back into. I would be game. My God, I mean, I don't know. It'd be like, Scott's pod had a crack on it or something.
Just no fights with any giant animals or anything.
Yeah, there was a mosquito got trapped in his heart or something. He didn't survive.
Oh no, that would be awful. Jeez, man. Brian J. Smith, Matthew Scott. I've missed you, pal. It's good to see you.
I missed you too. I've missed you too. Let's do this again.
You know what? I'm gonna keep an eye on what you're up to, and we'll have you back in the future for sure.
Yeah, maybe we could talk about the this class of 09 thing, because
I'm all on board. I'm all on board to check it out, because the concept sounds really interesting.
If we can freaking finish it, if we can get through freaking COVID right now, I mean,
this is true.
Just, oh my God, it's just pummeling us right now.
I'm positive about where we're heading. I think we're going to be okay. But the important thing is that we all keep working, and that we all do what we can to take care of each other. So
absolutely,
for sure.
I'll drink to that.
You take care of yourself, brother. All right. I'm gonna go ahead and wrap up the show.
All right.
Thanks, man.
Ciao.
Brian J. Smith, Matthew Scott from Stargate Universe. I have always been a big fan of his work, and I'm delighted that we finally managed to get him on the show. If you enjoyed this episode, please consider clicking that like button, and it will help us get the word out to more people. And if you liked what you saw, consider supporting the show by buying a t-shirt. Dial the Gate is brought to you every week for free, and we do appreciate you watching. But if you want to support the show further, buy yourself some of our themed swag. We're now offering t-shirts, tank tops, sweatshirts, and hoodies for all ages, as well as cups and other accessories in a variety of sizes and colors at dialthegate.com/merch. Checkout is fast and easy. You can use a credit card or PayPal. Just visit dialthegate.com or straight to dialthegate.com/merch. And thanks so much for your support. We're still working on the lineup for next week's guests, and I appreciate you tuning in while we figure that out. I'll keep the word out on social media, so keep an eye on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram for the Dial the Gate pages. Thanks so much to my moderating team, Summer, Tracy, Keith, Jeremy, Reese, Anthony. You guys make this show possible, as well as my producer, Linda Gate-Gabber Fury. Thank you so much, Linda. Big thanks to Frederick Marcoux at Concepts Web. He's our web developer at Dial the Gate. Also, a big thank you to Jeremy Heiner, our webmaster, who keeps the site up to date. There were just a couple of questions that came out for me. John says we want to do more trivia, maybe with the moderators going up against David. We'll be sure to make something like that happen. I'm going to try to do trivia every quarter. And everyone's saying FYI, please more trivia at a later date. We will bring that on. Thank you so much for tuning in. I really appreciate having you join us. Thanks again to Brian J. Smith as well. My name is David Reed for Dial the Gate. We'll see you on the other side.